Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sharing group. Today's lesson of A Course in Miracles is lesson 81, and we are in a review period, and that's where we go back and we review previous lessons. So the two ideas for lesson 81 are I am the light of the world, and forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. Two very powerful statements for a powerful woman who has joined us again, y'all, by popular demand. Serumaga has visited the show before and shared her incredible near-death experience. And if you have not seen that, please check out her first video. I'll post it in the description box, but she's like a couple videos from this one. And so now she's back with us to share even more of her downloads and things and experiences that she's had. She has so much more to share, y'all. So, Elle, thank you so much for joining us again. We are so excited.
Thanks for asking me back.
Yes. So I'm gonna just have you share any of the things that you wanted to share that are beyond what we talked about, and then I just have questions that I wanted to ask you.
Okay. We could start with the questions. I guess one of the things that I wanted to share is that I don't know if people have seen this new
Repeat that.
It's called NPT or AI or something like that.
Okay.
The AI trend.
Okay.
Where people are acting like AIs and they're getting money for acting like AIs. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, well, if you go on TikTok and you search that, it's a big popular thing right now. And I actually saw that in my near-death experience. I haven't gotten around to it. There's so many different things that I shared the less bizarre things first, because some things I didn't even know how to communicate because I didn't know necessarily all the time what I was looking at. And what I saw in my NDE with that was that there were people, or mainly women, who were just kind of overly sexualized and kind of, robotic, and they were all lined up and things like that. And so I put that, sharing about that on the back burner because it's very, it's hard to communicate what I saw. And this trend started, but it had to do in my NDE message to me when I was being shown different things about the world, that it had to do with the sex trade. So I saw this whole thing taking off on TikTok about AI and what have you. It seemed innocent, but then came across somebody explaining that it links back to the Asian sex trade, where, men would pay women to act like, robots, serpents, AIs, whatever, to have a human act that way. And so that's where it originated. I don't know if a lot of the people who are doing that now know that that's where it originated, but apparently it's significant. So when I meditated about it, I got that it's kind of brings to light the fact that it's very hard for people they're willing to do anything. Some people, I should say, are willing to do anything for money, but they're also kind of selling their soul, and they're being trained to make themselves seem robotic. They're being trained to or trained to numb themselves by getting into that trend. So it may seem like an innocent, funny, a little stupid trend, but there's actually some psychological effects that it will have, and it's also some emotional effects. It's kind of like losing a part of your soul doing that. So I know that some of the people who do it are good people, but I don't know that all of them know what it's manifesting and where it originates. So that's one of the things that I got.
Wow, I was not ready for that. So it's consensual, sounds like, right? These are
Oh,
adults.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is this kind of almost like a trying to go back to technology and lose this emotions of being human?
Yeah. It's kind of like a subtle training to think of yourself, to think of merging with AI, or to think of numbing your soul, numbing your experiences, numbing your emotions. And these people are doing it because they're making a lot of money. It's easy for somebody to do. It seems funny. It seems weird. It seems a little wacky, like there's not much to it, but there's a deeper energy going on with it that's actually kind of silently sucking the soul out.
Oh my
So,
gosh. So
yeah.
literally, like you said, it's
Mm-hmm.
they're selling, they are compromising their soul. And
Yeah.
so in what ways is that? Is it one of those things that they are losing touch with their higher self? And
Yes, it's a way of kind of losing touch, because essentially, and once you see it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. People pretend to be an AI. They respond to people giving them like little gifts and things like that. And in TikTok, where they'll send a rose, send a heart, all of those things translate into money. So they'll continue. But there are ways that our society and culture is silently trained, or I should say covertly trained, to be numb to certain things. And I don't know if, like, some of the people that are doing this are genuinely seem like great people. They seem, and some of them have talked about it. Oh my gosh, this person is doing so well. I'm going to try it. They're just trying to pay their bills, basically, and it's an easy way for them to do that. But I don't know that all of them know where it all originates. It's in the Asian sex trade that the whole thing originates. And by, kind of mimicking that, or making it into kind of, translating into today type of function where they're doing it, they don't realize the subtle, there's things that happen. There's trauma that happens by being punched in the face or being hit by a car. And then there are little micro traumas that are just little pinpricks, constantly picking away, picking away. It's one of those things that is a picking away micro trauma type of thing. And they may not necessarily, it's hard because they may not necessarily feel or see that, because they're just having fun. They're happy, they're making money. But at the same time, the root of it is in something very dark. And it's kind of it's unearthing, and it's perpetuating that type of dark energy, even if they don't mean for it to be. They're just trying to pay their bills, basically.
Right.
So,
and just not realizing it. And just not realizing the impact of it, right?
Right.
Wow, that is interesting. I know that I've heard you talk about that we are, in a way, we are in a dystopian period now, and we are trying to work our way out of that. Is that's another symptom of that?
Yes, it is. It is.
Very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm sure it has purpose. For folks to be.
It seems like such a subtle thing. I almost wasn't going to bring it up, and then I was kind of guided to mention it, because sometimes we just don't realize certain things.
So I have asked another NDE this question.
Okay.
Wanted to pose the question to you. I know that during your NDE, you saw different planets, right? And I always hear from high vibrational non-physical beings that we are in a free will planet, that we live on a free will planet, and that there are other planets who are not free will planets. So I was wondering, if were you exposed to any of those planets, and if so, like, how did that look? How did that feel?
Well, a couple of things. I only saw one planet, and I also traveled through space and I saw a nebula. So I was floating through space as, I guess I must have been an orb, because I didn't see a body. I saw out in front of me, but I didn't see, like, I had no shape or form.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that I don't know what you mean about free form planet.
Free will,
Free will.
the ability to make our own choices, the
Oh, I see.
freedom to choose. I didn't
Okay.
know it's not a big deal. I didn't know if you were exposed to that.
No, I wasn't exposed to that. The planet I went to, I was more the ET on the planet. There was a city there, there were buildings, there were people, there was an actual culture. They were going about some type, their culture, going about, I can't say the day because it doesn't translate the same, but their activity in general. And they were a different species, and they were aware of humans. Their skin was translucent. And they glowed from within, from time to time, different colors. So they, that was the planet that I went to, and I was just observing them for a while. One of my guides was next to me, showing me, here's a planet. These are actual beings, and they're aware. So that was my experience.
Did they look human like, Elle? Did they have two eyes, two ears?
Yes. Not necessarily ears, but they had like two eyes. They didn't look like an animal. They looked like, I don't even want to say humanoid. They had legs, they had arms. It was obvious they weren't human, but they were, they were intelligent beings, basically.
And they were aware of you, and
Yes.
just kind of kept it moving, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. Did you get a vibration of the planet? Like, did it feel good? Did it feel like they were evolved beings, or
they felt definitely evolved?
okay.
They had like I said, they had an awareness of humans, and I would wonder if any of them have actually visited Earth. They had technology. They were definitely higher, more highly evolved than us, and had access to a lot more evolutionary and technologically advanced things than us.
That's really, really cool. I have noticed, Elle, that the idea of extraterrestrial beings being among us has like slowly becoming socialized. It's almost like for years we know that they've been around, and it's kind of, when people say that they've seen them or seen a UFO, they would end up in the magazines for crazy people, right? To make it seem like they're crazy. And so there has been an agenda to keep that information away from us. But now it seems as if now when I say they, I mean the powers that be that control media are allowing folks to become aware that there are other life forms around us. Do you think that is preparation for an event, a coming, or them showing themselves to us? And if so, how do you think that's gonna look?
Well, I think where you first saw me, I think was on the Jeff Mara show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back then, I had said that my guides were telling me that we were going to have some major activity in regards to ETs starting in April. So in April, all of this started unearthing, and we had a whistleblower after a legitimate whistleblower who actually had clearance and a lot of very, very notable people, not crazy or kooks, come forward and validate a lot of information starting April. And one of the things I said back then on that show was that by or before the end of the year that we would have a major contact event.
Mm-hmm.
So when the incident happened in Las Vegas, I wasn't really surprised. I was mainly I meditated or tried to see if that was one of the major events, and that is just one event, one micro major event that's leading to an even bigger event that's going to be happening. And yes, you're correct. We're being prepared little by little, as we've seen that, this is psychology 101. There's a test, and I don't remember what the test is, but it's like an experiment where people are introduced, I think it was with children. They're introduced to something, to an idea, and that seems incredibly bizarre. And over time, they keep being introduced to it to the point where it doesn't seem so abnormal anymore. And now we've literally had 2 congressional hearings where there's admission that there's life, intelligent life on other planets, and people look at it and then they move on with their lives. We've gotten to the point where people are just, don't care, I need to go to work type of attitude. And so that I believe that's part of a plan to make us feel that way, because one of the concerns, one of the reasons for the covert, activity around hiding this is there was a concern apparently that we wouldn't be able to handle it. So now we're being, slowly dosed so that we can take the full prescription, basically, when it happens.
Yeah, and I have my opinion on that. I feel like people would have been able to integrate that idea a while ago.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I've heard that we're kind of treated almost as children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they want to control the information that
Mm-hmm.
that we're privy to. So I've heard you say, I'm going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard that octopus are actually
Alien.
extraterrestrial origins. And I'm like, that makes sense. Because they don't have the one head and the 2 arms and the 2 legs. It's kind of, a different form, different shape. So have you heard that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
We lightly touched on it before, but octopi they shapeshift. They can actually shapeshift. They are intelligent. They respond to stimulus and respond to even commands. They are able to figure out, they're troubleshooters. They can figure out how to get out of a box. These are all, experiments that I've seen, and what I've learned about octopi in my off time when I just want to learn random things about life. But yes, it is said, some scientists believe that they are an alien, that they didn't originate on this earth. I think that is the case, and that resonated as true with me, because there are many life forms here that didn't originate here. Their expression is completely different than what we think of planet Earth to be. And there's some belief that there's some aliens that actually mimic some of the more primitive life forms. For example, let's say they're, for lions, for example, or tigers, they would be the primitive version of an advanced species, which some people believe there is an alien species that looks like a lion or a tiger.
Yeah.
So it's as though some of these intelligent species may have their primitive expression on Earth. And that's why I said the last time we're kind of like a seed bank, where we have a lot of different species, a lot of different seeds, and a lot of these things come from other places to fill our Earth, but they're primitive expressions of some advanced life forms.
That is really, really interesting. And I wanted to say and make you laugh. I've had another indie ear on. Her name is Alexa Page. She was talking about extraterrestrial beings. And she said, some we have to open our minds. Some of y'all have third cousins on planets.
She's absolutely right.
She was like, y'all got third cousins on another planet,
Right. Yes.
Open our
or ninth cousins once removed.
Okay. I wanted to go back to the conversation about octopus. Yeah, I've seen a documentary. It's on Netflix, and it's something like the octopus my best friend, or something about a friend.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen all of it, but I think I saw a trailer for that. Yeah.
He was a deep diver with the dive equipment, and he made friends with this octopus. And I saw the documentary, and I'm gonna tell you something. It was one of the most impactful documentaries I've seen, and just like I said, the level of intelligence that octopus demonstrated, it absolutely recognized.
Yeah,
gentlemen. It just, if anybody, it's on that's why I saw it on Netflix. If y'all want to check that out, it is dynamic. It really is. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. So in the last experience, we talked about that you merged with a tree, and merged, as a fish. What other life forms did you, like I've heard you say that you merged with as a lily? What was that experience for you?
When I was a lily, I was floating on a pond, and I had no dimension. I believe that I was an orb inside of a lily. So my expression was a lily, and I didn't really think about anything other than observing. A lot of the life forms that I was put in, I noticed the commonality between all of them. They were observers, and they just existed. They just, had perspective. They were free from trauma. They were free from hate. They were free from a lot of the more complex human emotions. And so they were just, more existing, but had different feel. For example, the tree did have feeling, but it was not as intense as our feelings. When we're hungry, we get angry, and when we're sad, we just start crying, and a tree doesn't have that range. They're kind of middle way type of feelings. So with a lily, I felt very happy. I felt very light. I felt very, I don't know, you know, I don't know necessarily what Buddhist monks feel because I've never spoken to one in person. I can only assume based on the things that I see, which those are colored, those things are colored, when you see something on TV or whatever.
Mhm.
But I felt like what I think a Buddhist monk might feel like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is just what?
Absent of self, appreciative of the light and the sun and the water, observant of how the water flows and how the light bounces off of the water, things like that.
Wow. That's beautiful. Um, I heard you say a quote and I thought it was beautiful. Um, that our goal here, that we are celestial beings, and that stars and planets are alive, right? And a part of us being here, I guess the ultimate goal is for the body to be as light.
Mhm.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, we're actually light bodies in our true form,
Mm-hmm.
and our flesh makes us forget what that true form is because it's encased within our soul. So our journey on this planet is for us to remember little things little by little, do things that help to refine the part of our soul that helps us to get back to that light body form. It's not easy because it's super tough being human, but being a light body is our true form. And we see expressions of that in various different things. So we know that light is in there. Um, we have, that's part of our journey on this earth, is to try to work through all of those things. And we chose to come here and we chose to kind of work through those things, even though we don't remember. And we're not necessarily going to remember unless we are a very old soul and a child, or somehow are able to tap into that through hypnotherapy or something else that kind of helps us to, as you were talking about, the free mind, helps us to get to that place so that we can remember that.
Is it possible, Elle, that so let me just ask a very basic question for me. Is it possible, we are light bodies, and you were saying it's tough because we've merged with these physical forms, right?
Mhm.
Does the body have to expire for us to go back to our true essence?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's what I figured.
Mhm.
Um,
We can go back to our true essence in thought and
hmm,
consciousness. So the mind is actually the heart. The heart is actually the mind. So to we can go to these places or go back to that form in thought, and we can hold that thought in place for as long as we can.
mhm.
And then what happens is somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're back in your body.
Right there and that ego again, okay? That's so funny. I've heard you say we are in rapid evolution. So
Mhm.
what does that mean? What does that mean that we are in rapid evolution?
Well, we're officially in the age of Aquarius,
Okay.
and Aquarius symbolizes transformation, change, the breaking down of some systems, rebuilding of other systems. Um, it is a symbol of, or communicates, um, disclosure, And even a little bit of self-rebellion. When I say self-rebellion, I mean people may be fed up with things within themselves, within others.
Mhm.
They are at the point where they want change.
Mhm.
So our evolutionary process is rapidly moving towards the end of this cycle. The end of the cycle doesn't necessarily mean the end of all life and the apocalypse or anything like that.
Mhm.
It means the end of one of the ways of us doing things and going to another way of us doing things. But in between that, there's a lot of dodging of potholes, a lot of, going around certain routes and trying to make our path not so rocky.
Mhm.
But it is rocky. That's just the nature of change.
Yeah. And we are getting there. I mean, just even it's that's we're getting there slowly but surely. Slowly
Yeah.
but surely.
And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are waking up now, because we need to, even though it seems kind of like a light choice. Oh, I'm choosing to just do things differently in my life. No, you're actually helping to save the world right now, because that's the point that we're at. So,
And with that, so much is coming up. Like I know with me personally, just so much of the things that were dormant, that were, I'll say this, um, issues that we're having, right?
right. Mm-hmm.
Those shadows that are within us that's
Mm-hmm.
dealt with, unconscious beliefs
Right.
that does not serve us,
Mm-hmm.
fears, right?
Right.
They're coming up like, and so everything must come to the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's been tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like collectively we're all kind of going through that. Like, what's wrong? What's going on
Mm-hmm.
with me, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's a part of that evolution process. It's not all pretty,
No, it isn't.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about frequency and toning, and we talked a little bit of this on our last conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You said that everyone has their own unique frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways that we can find out what that frequency is. So talk about that a little bit with us.
Well, if you have life, you have frequency, because frequency is energy, and it takes energy to spark life, and it takes energy to sustain life. Like everything we do is about energy. If you pull the energy out of our body, we're dead. It's no longer within this container.
Mhm.
So frequency and energy are almost the same thing. So that's how everything does have frequency.
So Elle, tell us what you do professionally. I think it's so, cool. I know you've talked about uh your doctoral, you're pursuing your doctoral degree in
Mm-hmm.
genetics and
Mm-hmm.
osteopathic medicine. And how are you integrating that after your near-death experience? Let us know that. That's so interesting to me.
Well, I have a little while left to go before I'm done, but I'm completing one hurdle very soon. I am fascinated by genetics, and I'm fascinated. Basically, all of my desire to do this, I never thought that I would do in my life, basically. But I was inspired because of my own experience
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
things that I saw in my NDE about our genetics, things that I saw in my NDE about frequency, and how frequency can actually heal us. It can manage our health. It can help us to advance, overcome. It can help to extend our life if we use it correctly. So I know that medicine is not necessarily designed the way I would like it to be designed, but I decided that I wanted to apply some of the things that I saw in my NDE and, use some of those things in order to be a different type of geneticist, be a different type of osteopathic physician. And I believe that medicine, the Hippocrates and the Hippocratic Oath, encourage doctors to kind of use their consciousness, use their intuition and things like that in order to advance and help and heal, to be a different type of DO, be a different type of geneticist is important to me, because there's a lot of power in our bodies. There's a lot of power within we're light bodies and we're energy. If a human being dies, the energy from that that comes out from that can power a city for weeks.
Wow.
That's how much energy we have in our body.
Wow.
So we're very complicated and very unique system. My goal is to practice a new kind of medicine, basically. What I feel is enhancing our own abilities to do certain things based on what I saw in my NDE, as opposed to being reliant on prescriptions all the time. And, prescriptions help. Sometimes we need medicine, traditional medicine, but I also would like to focus on other modalities that can help to heal, that can go to the source of problems to heal. What I was shown was that frequency added into that can really not only help us on a cellular level, it can help to extend our life. If we start using these things, more effectively, then we don't need to do a lot of or focus so much on synthetic things in us in order to make that happen, because we have a lot of innate ability. We just have to treat our body the right way and use what's around us. And I feel as though there's a lot of focus on AI and merging with AI. But to me, we're more complex and more unique than AI. And we have much more abilities than AI. So I think that our culture is suffering from a self-esteem issue.
Yeah, what is that AI thing? That's really kind of confusing for me. It's almost like a worshiping of technology, almost.
Exactly. It's a worshiping of technology over us. We have more capable. Do you know that DNA, you can actually store information on DNA? Actual information, meaning coded things, you can store it on the DNA strand. And it has, I don't know how many terabytes, but it has multiple terabytes worth of storage capability. So a human being can actually have information stored on their DNA about everything, about all history, all mathematics, everything else. And scientists are working on that. If that's fused on someone's DNA, they have access to all of that information.
Wow. Talk about this concept of, have you heard of this concept of junk DNA?
Yes.
And that it's actually, of course, powerful DNA, but it was flipped around and they've called it junk DNA, but it's actually not junk at all. What do you know about that?
What I know is what my knowing tells me about junk DNA, that a divine God and a powerful, omnipotent being wouldn't create something within a complex, within a person who, you know, a human being, which is a complex species, that's junk. What's the point? Do you know, do people just clean their house and just conveniently leave a pile of garbage in the corner?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it's junk DNA. I think that it's DNA that either we weren't told after it was discovered its power, or we haven't yet fully uncovered its power. But that's starting to also come out more and more, that certain things that were called junk DNA actually have a particular function. So yeah, and just we didn't understand it, but I don't think any of it is junk.
I agree. I agree, Al. I've heard you talk about that human beings are like mushrooms. Talk about how we are like mushrooms.
Well, mushrooms, you know, they're a mycelial network, and they individually grow. They send out spores and create more mushrooms. They have a very powerful life cycle. They can take over and consume the things that they're around, but they can also transform those things too into nourishment for the earth. So we're very similar on a raw level, and they're all interconnected. So even though we don't realize that we're all connected, and we think that we're autonomous and individual to each other, we're actually very connected. So that's how we're similar to mushrooms.
Yes, we have been taught that we have no impact on the universe at large, right? And we're just one person, you know, but even in science, I think we are realizing that if there's an experiment going on, that you have the placebo, right? And then you have the active ingredient that actually the particular scientist, the person observing the active ingredient impacts the outcome of what happens. Much faith or energy, or you know, that we as beings, as light beings, impact that scientific experiment.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, we're realizing how energy works and exactly who we are. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah. I'm not completely against AI, meaning it should be assistant to us to get things done. Maybe, you know, one of the good uses of AI is somebody being able to walk because of AI and move their body because of AI. But we shouldn't be worshiping AI because we're so incredibly unique. We were designed with all of these capabilities we're not using that seem, you know, miraculous and abnormal, but they're very normal. We've just been, like you were saying, conditioned to think, oh, I'm just me and I'm out here and that's it. And I'm not imagine if all of us felt incredibly powerful, what would happen?
Imagine. Yes, imagine. I've heard of the concept of sound baths, talking about frequency. What is the benefit, L, of a sound bath? And what is that, like singing bowls? Like what is that?
So have you heard about you know, have you heard about people praying over water, and it takes a different so the act of praying is generating a frequency that's changing the molecular structure of water. So since we are predominantly water and we're predominantly energy, when you have a sound bath, it's kind of tapping into that energy, nourishing it, stirring it up, helping it to move, things like that.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of YouTube videos out there with people doing the sound, the singing bowls, and you just can feel it in your body. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, the frequencies. Elle, did you have anything else that you wanted to share with us before we closed out?
No, just thank you for having me back.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I had a few people that were like, you know what, that, you know, Elle, I would love to hear from her again. So definitely I had enough where I'm like, you know what, let's do this. Um, so I have closing remarks for you again.
Okay.
And again, I'll put your contact information in the description box if people wanted to reach out to you. I know that you have a website, which is really, really cool. So your closing remarks, Ale, when I think of you, a specific statement from A Course in Miracles comes to mind, and it gives me chills when I read it. Page 15 of the course reads, "Child of God, you were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Do not forget this."
Mm.
And this is what you are doing. You are creating the good, the beautiful, and the holy, and you have not forgotten it. Not only are you leveraging your spiritual experience, but you are layering that with your knowledge and your passion for science and genetics. I checked out your website, Ale, and on it you state, "Now that I survived an unsurvivable situation, as a spiritual person, it inspired me to respect my body more and learn about our powerful bodies and spirit. I do believe we were created with the ability to heal or improve our bodies and overcome environmental issues which damage or change our DNA. I feel called to share my amazing story in order to help empower others spiritually and scientifically." And it is so exciting, Ale, to read this quote from someone who is in the field of healing. Your belief in our ability to heal ourselves, coupled with your knowledge of science and research, makes you one of the most influential people on this planet in this moment, not in a future moment, in this moment. You are an influential person. And I'm so glad that we have people like you to help us to not only wake up to our abilities to heal ourselves, but to show us exactly how to do that with faith and knowledge. And so, girl, I am so proud of you.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of us. I'm so proud of us. And I see myself in you because we are indeed all one. And I can't
Right.
wait to see how you continue to change the world with your wisdom and your knowledge. So, yes,
Thank
I'm just
you.
excited. I'm excited. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. And I hope everybody, again, love and enjoyed this conversation. And we'll end with a heart again, Elle. And that's a beautiful heart. We love y'all. Until next time. Love you.
I
Bye-bye.
love you too. But